The Bible tells us in Exodus 15, it talks about Pharaoh's chariots and his host hath he cast into the sea.
Well, if there were chariots found in the Red Sea, it would probably have something to do with the crossing of the sea.
There is a battlefield at the bottom of the Red Sea. We're not talking about a single shipwreck. We're talking about an entire Egyptian army. A recent high-tech dive has just uncovered what amateur explorers have claimed for years. Hundreds of chariot wheels, horse skeletons, and human remains perfectly preserved in coral. This finding doesn't just support an ancient story, it threatens to rewrite it, and Egyptologists are completely silent. The 10 million secret. In late 2024, a highly secretive team of divers and underwater archaeologists launched a private expedition, funded to the tune of over $10 million. They were equipped with advanced side-scan sonar, military-grade remotely operated vehicles with 4K cameras, and hypersensitive magnetometers. They weren't looking for old pots. They were looking for something mainstream science insisted did not exist: the lost army of the Pharaoh. For decades, rumors had pointed to a specific spot in the Red Sea's Gulf of Aqaba. Stories told of coral-encrusted chariot wheels and scattered bones from the biblical Exodus. Mainstream Egyptology had laughed these off as pseudoscience and religious hoax. But this team had a map based on those ridiculed claims, and they had the technology to see what no one else wanted to see. For days, the sonar pulsed into the deep. Then the operator saw it, strange symmetrical anomalies on his screen, round, precise shapes arranged in a long, linear trail. They looked exactly like wheels, hundreds of them. They deployed the ROV hundreds of feet below the surface. Then, suddenly, there it was. A perfectly round shape covered in coral. Without a doubt, an ancient spoke chariot wheel. As the ROV glided forward, another came into view, and another. It was a debris field stretching for nearly 1.5 miles. Elite deep-sea divers descended into what became terrifyingly clear: a military catastrophe frozen in time. The seafloor was a war zone, littered with remains of a fleeing army. They saw wheels with 4 spokes, 6 spokes, and 8 spokes. Specific designs matching perfectly the different types of chariots used by the Egyptian army during the New Kingdom period. Finding them all jumbled together was a snapshot of the entire Egyptian chariot corps. They found twisted metal axles, tangled chariot cabs, now just corroded bronze and petrified wood, fused to the seafloor by coral. The divers reported an overwhelming sense of dread. They were swimming through an underwater graveyard. Tangled within the debris were bone shards, hundreds, possibly thousands. Some were clearly animal: horse skulls, ribs, femurs exactly where they'd be if still harnessed. Others were unmistakably human: spines, pelvic bones, skull fragments, all mixed in a chaotic jumble. This was the final resting place of hundreds, maybe thousands, of elite soldiers and animals who perished in a single violent event. Then one diver caught a faint glimmer beneath the coral crust, a dull, unmistakable golden sheen. This matched the most dismissed claim of all, that among the wreckage was a gold-plated chariot wheel, perhaps belonging to the Pharaoh himself. They documented everything with thousands of photos and hours of video. They had found physical evidence supporting one of history's oldest stories. But when findings were shared with academics, the reaction wasn't excitement. It was cold, hard silence. A bridge at the bottom of the sea. The Gulf of Aqaba is extremely deep, a massive underwater canyon plunging 5,000 to 6,000 feet down. Crossing it with an army would be impossible, except for one very specific place. Right where divers found the army is a massive flatland bridge spanning the entire Gulf, an underwater plateau stretching nearly 10 miles from Egypt's Nuweiba beach to Saudi Arabia. On either side, the seabed plunges into mile-deep abysses. But the bridge itself is relatively shallow, at about 900 feet deep. Sonar maps show it clearly, a distinct underwater road 10 miles long. This is the only place in the entire 100-mile Gulf where an ancient group could have attempted to cross. This geography perfectly matches the ancient story. The biblical account describes Israelites trapped against the sea with mountains on either side and Pharaoh's army closing in. Nuweiba Beach fits perfectly, a massive beach completely walled in by steep mountains. The only way out is forward into the sea, where the underwater bridge lies. This is a detail ancient writers couldn't possibly have known. You can't see it from the surface, only with advanced sonar. Yet the story points directly to this one-of-a-kind location. The 1.5 mile trail of wheels and bones follows the path of this submerged bridge, looking exactly like a group caught mid-passage. An entire army forced into this narrow 10-mile bottleneck would be completely vulnerable. When disaster struck, there was no escape. They couldn't go left or right. They were trapped. The vindication of a madman. This entire story goes back to one man the world thought was a complete crank. Ron Wyatt, a nurse and anesthetist from Tennessee. A passionate, deeply religious, self-taught biblical adventurer, he spent his life trying to find physical proof of Bible stories. In the 1970s, Wyatt became obsessed with finding the true Red Sea crossing. His search led him to the Gulf of Aqaba and Nuweiba Beach. He reasoned that if Israelites were trapped there, the remains of Pharaoh's army must be at the bottom, right on that underwater land bridge. So in 1978, armed with basic scuba gear and faith, he dove down. What he claimed to find was exactly what the new $10 million expedition just verified. Coral-encrusted chariot wheels, human and horse bones mixed with chariot parts, and the legendary golden chariot wheel gleaming beneath the coral. When Wyatt presented his findings, the academic world ridiculed him. They labeled him a fraud and religious zealot. His other claims, finding Noah's Ark, Mount Sinai, and the Ark of the Covenant, made him an even bigger target. To mainstream science, this was fantasy, not research. Ron Wyatt passed away in 1999. His claims still universally mocked, but he left behind his maps and exact coordinates. The secret 2024 expedition wasn't diving blind. They were following Ron Wyatt's map. Their $10 million technology verified one by one the impossible claims that the Tennessee nurse had been making all along. The sonar confirmed the land bridge. The ROVs confirmed the wheels, 4, 6, and 8 spoked, just as he said. The divers confirmed the bones and saw the glint of gold. Experts who dismissed Wyatt for decades now face high-tech data proving he was right about the massive ancient underwater debris field. What are they hiding? Why are Egyptologists frozen? For over 100 years, the consensus among secular Egyptologists is that the Exodus did not happen. They teach this in every university. It's written in every textbook. It's dogma. They argue there's zero archaeological evidence in the Sinai Desert for 2 million people wandering for 40 years. There's no mention in any Egyptian hieroglyph of their entire army being destroyed. The entire foundation of modern Egyptology, its timelines, king lists, understanding of the 18th dynasty, is built on a framework that cannot include this event. Now, suddenly, a team following a dismissed crank's map finds a massive debris field matching the story perfectly. Hundreds of chariots with specific designs used only by the Egyptian army of the 18th dynasty. The exact right time period, at the exact right location. If this site is real, the experts were wrong. A tenured professor who built their 30-year career on the Exodus as myth theory cannot suddenly admit that Tennessee nurse was right. Their career would be over, their life's work meaningless. Every book they published would be fiction, so they're frozen, silent. The safest thing is to ignore it, call it unverified pseudoscience. They're gatekeepers, and this discovery is a battering ram at their gates. But what if it goes deeper? If this site is proven to be Pharaoh's army, it would be physical proof of one of the Old Testament's foundational miracles. It would validate Judaism, Christianity, and Islam in one fell swoop. That's not just academically disruptive, that's geopolitically disruptive. What about secular governments built on the idea that religion is fantasy? Do those powers want billions to have physical proof of God's direct intervention in history? It's a geopolitical time bomb. And what do powerful people do when threatened by inconvenient truth? They bury it. The evidence is vanishing. That golden chariot wheel Ron Wyatt claimed he found, he said he brought it to the surface and reported it to Egyptian authorities. Then, poof, it vanished. No official photos, no museum record, no statement. The smoking gun proof is gone. Skeptics say he made it up. But what if it was confiscated? What if it was buried in a vault? A secret so explosive it can never see daylight? It gets worse. The 2024 expedition comparing their sonar maps to Wyatt's original maps from the 70s and 80s reports something disturbing. Large sections of the debris field seem to have been altered, cleared. Areas Wyatt claimed were dense with artifacts are now suspiciously barren. Is this natural erosion? The new team reports seeing drag marks on the seafloor, marks like massive objects were hooked and pulled away. This isn't nature, this is surgical. Is it possible that in 40 years since Wyatt found it, someone has been slowly, quietly, systematically removing the evidence, erasing history from the bottom of the sea? The site is fragile. Coral fossils and remains are eroding, but the human element is the real threat. The experts stand frozen on a cliff's edge. Behind them is their life's work and reputation. In front of them is a deep gulf full of impossible evidence threatening to pull them and established history under. And while they stand silent and paralyzed, the shadows are moving. The evidence is disappearing. The truth isn't just being ignored, it's being actively destroyed. Is this the world's greatest archaeological find, or a massive hoax? And if it's real, who is so desperate to erase it?